adjusted his tactical vest one more time as he stood outside the royal quarters. The space station, Concordia, hummed around him, with the sounds of 1,000 different species going about their business. He had been assigned to protect Princess of the Empire during the most important peace talks in galactic history. The human looked small compared to the alien guards around him. The warriors stood 8 feet tall with blue-scaled skin and 4 arms. They moved with grace that made feel clumsy, but he was here for a reason. Humans had earned a reputation across the galaxy for one thing: they never gave up on protecting those they swore to guard. Checked his weapon for the 10th time that morning. It was a simple plasma pistol, nothing fancy compared to the energy rifles they carried. But he had learned to make the most of what he had. Growing up on Earth had taught him that survival meant using everything you could find. The door to the royal quarters opened with a soft hiss. Princess stepped out and felt his breath catch. She was beautiful in a way that was completely alien yet somehow familiar. Her skin had a soft purple tint that seemed to glow in the station's artificial light. Her eyes were large and golden, and they held intelligence that made understand why she was leading these peace talks. "Good morning, Guardian," she said in perfect English. Her voice had a musical quality that made even simple words sound like poetry. "Good morning, Your Highness," replied with a small bow. "The route to the conference room has been cleared and secured." The princess smiled, showing small white teeth. "I know you take your job seriously, but perhaps you worry too much. We are on a neutral station. The energy shields here are the best in the galaxy. Nothing can get through them." Nodded but kept his hand near his weapon. In his experience, the moment you stopped worrying was the moment things went wrong. "Better safe than sorry, Your Highness." The lead guard, Captain Al, turned to with what might have been amusement. "The human's primitive instincts are showing again," he said to his fellow guards, "always expecting danger where none exists." Bit back his reply. They had advanced technology that humans could barely understand. Their energy shields could stop anything from plasma blasts to meteor strikes. Their sensors could detect threats from across a solar system. But technology sometimes failed and had seen too many good people die because someone trusted a machine more than their instincts. They began walking toward the conference hall. The corridors of Concordia were wide and bright, designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Watched everything, the other beings they passed, the maintenance workers fixing light panels, even the cleaning robots that swept the floors. "Tell me, Guardian," Princess said as they walked, "what do you think of these peace talks?" Considered his words carefully. "I think peace is always worth fighting for, Your Highness, but I also think there are those who profit from war and won't give up easily." The princess nodded. "You speak wisdom. My father believes humans are too young a species to understand galactic politics, but I have studied your history. Your people have fought wars that lasted decades, even centuries. You understand the cost of conflict better than most." "We've made our share of mistakes," agreed. "Maybe that's why we value peace when we find it." Captain Al snorted. "Humans and their emotional thinking. This is why your species remains in the outer sectors. Logic and technology maintain order, not feelings." Said nothing, but he noticed the way the captain's lower arms never moved away from his weapon controls. For all his talk about logic, the warrior was just as ready for trouble as was. They reached the conference hall without incident. The room was massive, with a ceiling that stretched up 3 stories. Representatives from dozens of species sat around a circular table that could have served as a landing pad for a small ship. The air hummed with translation, devices working to turn the various clicks, growls, and musical tones into something everyone could understand. Took his position behind the princess's chair and began his real work. While she spoke about trade agreements and territorial disputes, he watched the crowd. His eyes moved from delegate to delegate, looking for anything that seemed wrong. A hand that moved too quickly. Eyes that looked away when they should be focused on the speaker. someone who seemed too nervous or too calm. Hours passed. His feet began to ache, but he never moved from his position. The guards had relaxed as the day wore on. They spoke quietly among themselves and occasionally checked their communication devices. Their energy shields glowed softly around the princess, creating a barrier that their technology promised was unbreachable. But had learned not to trust promises. He had served in 3 different conflicts before becoming a diplomatic guard. He had seen shields fail and weapons jam at the worst possible moments. He had watched friends die because they believed in the absolute safety that technology seemed to offer. As the afternoon session began, Princess stood to address the assembly. She spoke about the future of galactic cooperation, about bringing humanity into the Galactic Council as full members rather than junior partners. Her words were passionate but measured, and could see she was winning over some of the more skeptical delegates. That was when he noticed the maintenance worker in the corner. The being was small and gray, wearing the standard coveralls of a station worker. Nothing about him should have raised alarms, but something in the way he moved made instincts scream. The worker was too focused on the princess, too still when he should have been working on the wall panel in front of him. Keyed his communication device. Control, this is Guardian. I need a background check on maintenance worker, Section 7, Panel 42. The reply came back quickly. No maintenance scheduled for that area today. His hand moved to his weapon as the worker's form began to shimmer. The creature's disguise was falling away, revealing something that looked like it was made of living shadow. In one fluid motion, it pulled out a weapon that seemed to bend light around itself. "Gun!" shouted, but the word was lost in the sudden chaos as delegates dove for cover. The guards were fast, but they had been watching for threats from outside the room, not from within their perfect security perimeter. The quantum disruptor fired with a sound like reality tearing apart. The beam cut straight through the energy shields as if they were made of paper, heading directly for Princess' heart. Time seemed to slow down as watched the quantum beam race toward Princess. The weapon's energy made the air itself seem to crack and split. Around the conference hall, delegates were screaming and diving for cover. The guards were bringing up their own weapons, but they were too far away and too slow. Didn't think. Thinking would have reminded him that he was just a human facing a weapon that could unmake matter itself. Thinking would have told him that his body armor was useless against quantum energy. Instead, his training took over. 3 years of protecting diplomats in war zones had taught him one simple rule: put your body between the threat and the person you're sworn to protect. He threw himself forward, wrapping his arms around Princess and spinning to put his back toward the assassin. The quantum beam hit him square between the shoulder blades just as he completed the turn. The pain was unlike anything had ever experienced. It wasn't heat or cold or any normal kind of injury. It felt like his very existence was being questioned by the universe. Every cell in his body screamed as quantum energy poured through him, trying to break the bonds that held his atoms together. But somehow, impossibly, those bonds held. Felt himself falling, taking the princess down with him in a tangle of limbs. Behind them, the quantum beam continued its path and struck the wall, leaving a hole that went clean through 3 levels of the station's hull. Emergency shields snapped into place to prevent atmosphere loss, and alarm klaxons began wailing. Princess cried out as she scrambled out from under him. Her golden eyes were wide with shock and fear. "You're hurt." Tried to speak, but his throat felt like it was full of broken glass. The quantum energy was still coursing through his system, making his vision blur and his muscles spasm. He could taste copper in his mouth and smell something that reminded him of ozone and burnt metal. Around them, chaos reigned. The guards had finally reached the assassin's position, but the shadow creature was already dissolving back into whatever dimension it had come from. Captain Al was shouting orders in his own language, while other guards formed a protective circle around the fallen human and their princess. Get a medical team here now, Princess commanded, her royal authority cutting through the confusion like a blade. She knelt beside, her 4 hands checking his pulse and breathing. He's alive, but barely. Wanted to tell her he was fine, wanted to get back to his feet and resume his duties. But his body wasn't listening to him anymore. The quantum energy had done something to his nervous system, making it impossible to control his movements. He could feel his heart beating irregularly, and each breath was a struggle. Dr. Han, the station's chief medical officer, arrived with a team of medics. The tall being took one look at and began clicking rapidly in his native language. The princess translated for the other guards. He says the quantum wound should have killed him instantly. The weapon the assassin used is called a molecular disruptor. It's designed to break down the atomic structure of living tissue. Then why is the human still breathing? Captain Al asked, his voice mixing confusion with suspicion. Dr. Han ran a scanner over his body, and the device began making sounds that clearly worried the medical team. The doctor's mandibles clicked together as he spoke in heavily accented English. His cellular structure. It is damaged, yes, but not destroyed. The quantum energy has created cascade failures throughout his system, but something is fighting back. His cells are trying to repair themselves faster than the weapon can unmake them. Princess leaned closer too, and he caught the scent of something like flowers mixed with ozone. Can you save him? I do not know, the doctor admitted. This weapon has never failed to kill before. We have no protocols for treating quantum disruption injuries because there are never any survivors. His biology is doing something that our science says is impossible. Felt them lifting him onto a medical stretcher. The movement sent new waves of pain through his body, but he forced himself to stay conscious. As they carried him toward the medical bay, he saw other security teams sweeping the conference hall for additional threats. The delegates were being evacuated to secure areas, while investigators tried to figure out how an assassin had penetrated the station's defenses. In the medical bay, Dr. Han and his team worked frantically to stabilize his condition. They hooked him up to machines that didn't recognize, devices that hummed and beeped in alien rhythms. Through his pain-fogged consciousness, he could hear them discussing his case in medical terms that the translation devices couldn't properly convert. Princess refused to leave his side. She sat in a chair next to his medical bed, watching the alien monitors track his vital signs. Her golden eyes never left his face, and found himself focusing on them as an anchor against the chaos in his body. "Why did you do it?" she asked softly when the medical team stepped away to discuss treatment options. "You knew that weapon would kill you." Managed to croak out a few words through his damaged throat. "My job, to protect you. But you're just one human. I am a princess with guards and shields and all the protection technology can provide." Tried to smile, though he wasn't sure if his facial muscles were working properly. Technology fails, people don't. The princess reached out and touched his hand with one of hers. Her skin was warm and soft, and was surprised to feel a strange tingling where they made contact. It wasn't the painful energy of his wounds, but something else, something that seemed to calm the chaos in his nervous system. "The energy," Princess whispered, her eyes widening. "I can feel it, the quantum disruption in your body. It's resonating with something in mine." Dr. Han noticed their joined hands and quickly ran his scanner over both of them. The device began making entirely new sounds, patterns that seemed to puzzle the medical team. "Fascinating," the doctor murmured. "The princess's bioelectric field is somehow stabilizing the quantum cascade in the human system. I have never seen anything like this." Over the next few hours, his condition continued to deteriorate despite their best efforts. The quantum energy was winning its battle against his cellular structure, slowly unmaking him from the inside out. The alien medical technology that could heal almost any conventional injury was useless against a weapon designed to attack the fundamental forces that held matter together. As his consciousness began to fade, heard Dr. Han speaking quietly to Princess. "I am sorry, Your Highness. We have done everything we can. The quantum disruption is too extensive. Even with your bioelectric field helping to stabilize him, his cellular structure is breaking down. He will not survive the night." Princess' grip on his hand tightened. "No," she said firmly. "He saved my life. I will not let him die." "Your Highness, there is nothing more we can do. Perhaps it would be best to contact his family, let them say goodbye." "Put him in stasis," the princess ordered. "Full medical stasis. If we cannot heal him now, we preserve him until we can. Stasis will not stop quantum disruption. It merely slows biological processes." "Do it anyway," Princess commanded with all the authority of royal blood. "Tell my father's court that died saving my life, but we preserve his body for human burial customs. No one needs to know he's still alive." As the stasis field activated around him, felt his consciousness slipping away. The last thing he saw was Princess' golden eyes, filled with determination and something that looked almost like hope. The last thing he felt was her warm hand in his, and that strange tingling energy that seemed to be fighting the quantum darkness trying to claim him. Then everything went black and died, or thought he did. Woke up feeling like he had been hit by a starship. Everything hurt, but it was a good hurt. The kind of ache that came from muscles that were still working instead of the terrible wrongness he remembered from the quantum weapon. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it as the room spun around him. "Easy, Guardian," came a familiar musical voice. "You have been unconscious for 3 days." Turned his head carefully and saw Princess sitting beside his bed. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept much since he had seen her last. Her golden eyes were red around the edges, and her usually perfect appearance was rumpled. "Your Highness," said, his voice coming out as a croak, "are you safe, the assassin?" "Gone," she assured him quickly. "The security teams found no trace of how he got onto the station or where he went, but," she leaned forward, her expression mixing relief with something that might have been fear. "You died. Dr. Han confirmed it. Your heart stopped, your brain activity ceased. You were clinically dead for 47 minutes. Tried to process this information, but I'm here now." "Yes," Princess said softly, "you're here now, and no one can explain how." The door to the medical room slid open, and Dr. Han entered with several other beings didn't recognize. The doctor was carrying more scanning equipment than had seen in one place before. "Impossible," Dr. Han clicked as he approached the bed. "The human should not be conscious. He should not be alive. Quantum disruption causes irreversible molecular damage." "But here I am," said, trying to inject some humor into the situation. "Sorry to mess up your medical theories, Doc." Dr. Han began running scanners over his body, muttering in his own language as the devices beeped and hummed. The other beings recognized a scientist, and what looked like a crystalline entity from the outer rim watched with intense interest. "The cellular damage is still there," Dr. Han announced after several minutes. "I can see where the quantum energy tore through his tissue, but it has been repaired. Not healed, repaired, as if his cells rebuilt themselves from the inside out." The scientist stepped forward. Her species was known throughout the galaxy for their advanced understanding of biology and genetics. "May I examine the patient?" she asked in a voice like wind through trees. Dr. Han nodded, and the new scientist began her own scans. Her equipment was even more sophisticated than the station's medical gear, and could feel it probing deeper into his body than seemed comfortable. "Remarkable," she said after a long examination. "His DNA shows signs of recent rewriting, not mutation rewriting, as if something took his genetic code apart and put it back together stronger." "That's impossible," the crystalline being said in a voice that sounded like chiming bells. "Quantum disruption destroys matter at the subatomic level. There should be nothing left to rebuild from." Princess had been listening to this exchange with growing excitement. What if humans are different? What if their evolution on Earth created biological systems that we don't understand? Earth is a death world, Dr. Han admitted reluctantly. The conditions there would force rapid evolutionary adaptation, but this level of cellular resilience has never been documented in any species. Was starting to feel like a laboratory specimen rather than a patient. Could someone explain what you think happened to me in terms I can understand? The scientist turned to him with what might have been a smile on her alien features. Simply put, Guardian, you died. The quantum weapon unmade your molecular structure, but instead of staying dead, your cells somehow reconstructed themselves using quantum energy as a template rather than a destructive force. So the weapon that was supposed to kill me, what made me stronger? Not stronger exactly, Dr. Han said, checking his instruments again. Different. Your cellular regeneration rate has increased by approximately 300%. Your neural pathways show new connections that were not there before your injury, and your bioelectric field has changed in ways we don't fully understand. Princess leaned forward. What kind of changes? Show him, the crystalline being suggested, producing a device that looked like a cross between a scanner and a weapon. This is a low-level quantum disruptor, similar to what medical teams use for precise surgical procedures. Before anyone could object, the being activated the device and aimed it at its arm. Felt a familiar tingling sensation where the beam touched his skin, but instead of pain, there was just warmth. Extraordinary, Dr. Han clicked rapidly. The quantum energy is being absorbed and metabolized by his cellular structure. He's not just resistant to quantum weapons, he's feeding off their energy. News of resurrection spread through the station faster than a computer virus. Within hours, representatives from a dozen different species were requesting permission to examine him. The conference hall that had been the site of the assassination attempt became secondary to the medical bay where a human had apparently conquered death itself. Ambassador Harrison from Earth arrived on the next transport ship, accompanied by a team of human scientists who looked completely out of their depth among the alien medical equipment. Was relieved to see familiar faces, even if those faces were staring at him like he had grown a second head. Son, Ambassador Harrison said, settling into a chair beside's bed, you've created quite a stir. Half the galaxy thinks you're some kind of secret weapon we've been hiding. And the other half asked. They think you're proof that humans deserve a seat at the big table. Princess, who had barely left his side since he woke up, spoke up. The peace talks have been suspended while the Galactic Council debates what survival means. Some species are calling for immediate human membership in the Council. Others are demanding to know how you survived their most powerful weapons. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the human team's leader, had been comparing notes with Dr. Han. She approached with a tablet full of data that made his head spin just looking at it. She said, "We think we know what happened. Earth's environment is unique in the galaxy. High radiation, extreme weather, constant geological activity, and exposure to cosmic rays that most worlds are shielded from. For millions of years, human evolution was driven by surviving conditions that would kill most other species. So I'm a freak of evolution." No, Dr. Martinez smiled. You're exactly what human evolution designed you to be, a survivor. The quantum energy that should have unmade you instead triggered dormant genetic pathways that we didn't even know existed. Your cells don't just repair themselves, they adapt and improve. The implications of this revelation were staggering. If humans could survive weapons that no other species could resist, it changed everything about humanity's place in the galaxy. The species that had been dismissed as primitive and weak might actually be the most durable beings in known space. Princess took's hand and he felt that familiar tingling sensation. There's something else, she said softly. Something that the medical scans can't fully explain, When you were dying, I felt connected to you. Your bioelectric field synchronized with mine. What does that mean? Dr. Han consulted his instruments before answering. It means, Guardian, that your quantum exposure has created a psychic link with Princess. Your life force, as some might call it, has become entangled with hers on a quantum level. Stared at the princess, seeing something new in her golden eyes. Is that why I survived? Partially, the scientist said. Her bioelectric field provided an anchor for your consciousness while your body rebuilt itself. Without that connection, the quantum disruption would have scattered your essence beyond recovery. So you saved me, said to the princess. No, she replied firmly. We saved each other. The connection works both ways. Your human determination to survive gave me the strength to maintain the psychic link even when the medical team declared you dead. As the day wore on, more officials arrived from across the galaxy. The Galactic Council was demanding answers and found himself at the center of a political storm that could reshape relations forever. But for now, he was content to be alive, even if no one could quite explain how. He had done his job, he had protected Princess. Everything else was just details that other people could sort out. Though he had a feeling, those details were going to be very interesting indeed. The summons from the Galactic High Court arrived exactly 1 week after woke up from death. The message was written in formal diplomatic language that basically said, report to the capital world of Nexus Prime immediately to explain how you survived our best weapon, or we'll assume Earth is hiding military secrets. Stood in his quarters aboard the transport ship, adjusting the formal blue uniform that Ambassador Harrison had provided. It felt strange to wear Earth's colors in front of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, but the ambassador had insisted. Remember, Ambassador Harrison said as he checked his appearance one final time, you're not just representing yourself up there. Every human in the galaxy is going to be judged by what you say and how you say it. No pressure at all, replied Drelly. Princess entered the room wearing ceremonial robes that marked her as a royal witness. Since her awakening, she and Had discovered that their quantum link allowed them to sense each other's emotions across considerable distances. Right now, he could feel her determination mixed with worry. The council is divided, she informed them. The older species see your survival as a threat. They believe humans must have developed secret weapons or genetic modifications. The younger species think it proves Earth deserves immediate full membership. And your people asked. My father is cautious. He values our alliance with Earth, but he also fears what other species might do if they feel threatened by human abilities. The transport ship venture arrived at Nexus Prime after 3 days of travel through hyperspace. Had never seen anything like the capital world. The entire planet was one massive city, with towers that reached into space and buildings that seemed to defy gravity. Ships from 1,000 different worlds filled the sky in carefully managed traffic patterns. The Galactic High Court was located in a pyramidal structure that dwarfed everything around it. As they walked through the entrance hall, felt very small. The ceiling stretched up so high that it created its own weather systems. Clouds actually formed near the top of the chamber. Guardian, Ambassador Harrison said quietly as they approached the main courtroom. Whatever they ask you up there, just tell the truth. Don't try to be clever or diplomatic. These beings can sense deception across species barriers. The courtroom itself was a marvel of engineering and politics. Representatives from 300 different species sat in a circular arrangement around a central platform where the accused would stand. The judge's bench was elevated above everything else, occupied by the 5 eldest and most respected beings in known space. Recognized Chief Justice of the ancient progenitor species, whose people had been traveling between stars when most other races were still discovering fire. Beside him sat Judge of the Crystalline Resonance Collective, Judge on representing the machine intelligences, Judge from the energy beings of the void clusters, and Judge Al of the telepathic consortium. The court recognizes of Earth, Chief Justice announced in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. You stand before this assembly to answer questions regarding your survival of a quantum molecular disruptor, a weapon that has never failed to kill its target in 3,000 years of recorded use. Walk to the center platform, feeling hundreds of alien eyes focused on him. He had faced enemy fire before, but this was different. These beings could decide the future of his entire species based on what he said in the next few hours. I understand, Your Honors. The first question, Judge said, her crystalline form chiming with each word, is whether Earth has developed secret biological weapons or genetic modifications that allow humans to survive quantum disruption. No, Your Honor, replied firmly. I'm not modified or enhanced in any way. I'm just a regular human who got lucky. Define lucky, Judge on requested with mechanical precision. Quantum disruption destroys matter at the subatomic level. Luck is a statistical concept that cannot overcome physical laws. Took a breath. Your Honor, I grew up on a planet that tried to kill me every day. Radiation from space, poisonous air in some places, extreme weather that could freeze or cook you in minutes, earthquakes, volcanoes, and more dangerous animals than you can count. Human evolution has been shaped by surviving things that would destroy most other species. You claim this is natural evolution? Judge asked, her energy form flickering with skepticism. We have examined Earth's environment. While harsh, it should not produce the level of quantum resistance you displayed. Dr. Martinez stepped forward from the human delegation. Your Honors, if I may present our findings. The Chief Justice nodded, and Dr. Martinez activated a holographic display that filled the air above his platform. Earth is unique in the galaxy, she began. Most worlds that support life are protected by magnetic fields, radiation shields, or stable environments. Earth has none of these protections. For millions of years, life on our planet has been bombarded by cosmic radiation, solar particles, and quantum fluctuations that penetrate deep space. The display showed comparative radiation levels between Earth and other inhabited worlds. The difference was dramatic. Human DNA contains backup systems, error correction protocols, and adaptive mechanisms that we're only beginning to understand. We don't just heal from injury, we rebuild ourselves to be stronger than before. Judge Al's telepathic voice resonated in everyone's mind. This adaptation would require conscious genetic manipulation by an advanced species. Natural evolution cannot account for quantum-level cellular reconstruction. With respect, Your Honor said, you're thinking about this backwards. You're asking how I survived a quantum weapon. The better question is, how does anyone survive on a planet that's constantly trying to quantum-disrupted life? He gestured to the holographic display. Every day on Earth, cosmic rays hit our atmosphere with enough energy to disrupt molecular bonds. Solar storms cook our planet with radiation that would sterilize most worlds. Volcanic activity releases quantum-active minerals into our environment. We don't just live with quantum forces, we evolved in a quantum storm. Prosecutor X of the Hegemony Coalition stood up. Even if we accept this theory, it presents an even greater problem. If humans can survive weapons that no other species can resist, they represent a clear threat to galactic security. Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates, felt Princess's concern through their quantum link. Your Honors, said, raising his voice to cut through the noise, I didn't survive that weapon to threaten anyone. I survived it to protect someone I swore to guard. That's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. Pretty words, Prosecutor X sneered. But your species has a history of violence and conquest. Ambassador Harrison stood up. Your Honors, humanity requests permission to present evidence of our actual behavior in galactic affairs. The Chief Justice considered this. Proceed. The holographic display changed to show statistics from human diplomatic and military service across the galaxy. Despite being one of the youngest species in galactic society, humans served as guards and peacekeepers for over 200 different worlds and species. In 50 years of galactic contact, Ambassador Harrison said, no human has ever betrayed their oath of protection. No human guard has ever abandoned their post. No human peacekeeper has ever used their position for personal gain. We don't survive to dominate, we survive to serve. Judge on process this information with mechanical efficiency. The statistical analysis supports this claim. Human reliability in protective roles exceeds galactic average by 400%. Because we understand the cost, added, every human knows what it's like to lose someone you care about. We know what it means when the protectors fail, so we don't fail. Princess stepped forward. Your Honors, I request permission to testify as the being whose life Guardian saved. Permission granted. When the assassin fired at me, Guardian didn't hesitate. He didn't calculate odds or consider his own survival. He simply placed himself between me and death because that was his duty. And when the quantum weapon struck him, when it should have unmade him completely, his determination to protect me anchored his consciousness to mine. She looked directly at. His survival wasn't just biology or evolution. It was will. Human will, which refuses to break even when the universe itself says it should. The courtroom fell silent as the judges conferred among themselves, using communication methods that transcended normal speech. Finally, Chief Justice spoke. Of Earth, this court finds that your survival was the result of natural human evolution combined with extraordinary determination and duty. However, the implications of human quantum resistance require careful consideration. Felt his heart sink. They were going to classify humanity as a threat species. Therefore, the Chief Justice continued, this court recommends immediate elevation of humanity to full Galactic Council membership, with special designation as protector species. Human guards will be made available to all member species who request them, and Earth will be granted full voting rights in all council matters. The courtroom erupted in a mixture of cheers and protests from different species delegations. Stood frozen, trying to process what had just happened. Princess' thoughts echoed in his mind through their quantum link. You didn't just save my life, you saved your entire species' future. As the chaos of celebration and argument swirled around him, realized that taking a quantum blast for an alien princess had somehow elevated humanity from junior partners to the galaxy's designated protectors. He just hoped they were ready for the responsibility. 3 months after the trial, stood in the observation deck of the New Earth Embassy on Nexus Prime, watching the endless stream of ships carrying human protection specialists to worlds across the galaxy. What had started with one man taking a quantum blast for an alien princess had transformed into the largest diplomatic and military deployment in human history. Still having trouble believing it's real, Princess asked as she joined him at the window. Their quantum link had grown stronger over time, allowing them to share thoughts and emotions with increasing clarity. Every day, admitted. 6 months ago, I was just another security guard. Now I'm apparently the face of humanity's elevation to galactic protector status. Through the window, they watched a transport ship prepare to depart for the system, where human guards would protect a trade negotiation between two species that had been enemies for centuries. Similar ships were leaving for dozens of other worlds, where conflicts needed neutral peacekeepers that both sides could trust. The Council's decision to give humans protector status was the right one, Princess said. Every species trusts you because you've never betrayed that trust. Touched the spot on his back where the quantum weapon had struck him. Dr. Hand's latest medical reports showed that his cellular regeneration had stabilized at about 3 times normal human rates, and his resistance to quantum energy weapons was complete. More importantly, similar testing on other humans had revealed that while not everyone could survive a direct quantum hit like had, all humans showed some level of quantum resistance. The medical team still can't fully explain what happened to me, said. Does it matter? Princess asked. You did what you needed to do, and now both our species are stronger for it. Ambassador Harrison entered the observation deck carrying a data pad and wearing the satisfied expression of a diplomat who had just closed a major deal. We just received formal requests for human protection details from 17 more worlds, he announced, including 3 from species that initially opposed our council membership. Any interesting ones? Asked. The Syndicate wants human guards for their scientific research facilities. Apparently, our quantum resistance makes us ideal for protecting their most dangerous experiments. Princess smiled. They're the ones who created the weapon that should have killed you. I'll take it as a compliment, replied. What else? The Crystalline Collective is requesting human peacekeepers for their mining operations. They need people who can work in high radiation environments that would kill most other species. And get this, the machine intelligences want human liaison officers because our unpredictable organic logic helps them solve problems their programming can't handle. Shook his head in amazement. So my near-death experience has turned humans into the galaxy's go-to problem solvers. More than that, Ambassador Harrison said, consulting his data pad. Earth's industrial output has increased by 400% to meet demand for human-compatible equipment. Our population growth rate is the highest in the galaxy because so many humans are volunteering for off-world assignments, and our diplomatic influence now equals species that have been in space for thousands of years. Princess added, my father has officially requested that you remain as my permanent guardian. The Council wants to formalize the protection agreement between our species. And what do you want? Asked, though their quantum link already told him the answer. I want you to stay, she said simply. Not because my father commands it or because the Council requires it, but because I can't imagine facing the dangers ahead without you. Over the past months, and Princess had discovered that their quantum entanglement went deeper than mere psychic communication. They could share strength during difficult moments, sense danger that threatened the other, and even experience each other's dreams. It was a bond unlike anything documented in galactic history. Dr. Martinez entered the observation deck with her latest research results. I thought you'd want to see this. We've been studying the quantum signatures of other human-alien pairs, and we're finding similar entanglement patterns. She activated a holographic display showing brain scans and energy readings. It seems that the extreme stress of protecting someone you care about can trigger quantum entanglement between humans and other species. We're calling it the Guardian Effect. So isn't unique? Princess asked. His survival of direct quantum disruption appears to be unique, Dr. Martinez clarified. But the ability to form quantum bonds, that might be a fundamental human trait we never knew existed. Ambassador Harrison looked thoughtful. This could change everything about how we approach relationships if humans can form genuine psychic bonds with other species. It means we're not just protectors, finished. We're bridges between species that couldn't communicate before. A communication alert chimed, and Ambassador Harrison checked his device. You need to hear this. We just received a priority message from the Outer Rim Coalition. There's been an attack on a joint research station, and they're specifically requesting you to lead the investigation. Why me specifically? Because the attackers used quantum weapons, and apparently left behind a message saying that humanity's impossible survival is a threat that must be eliminated. Felt Princess's concern through their link. The same determination that had driven him to take a quantum blast for her now focused on this new threat. When do we leave? He asked. Ambassador Harrison questioned. Princess stepped forward. Where goes I go. Our quantum link makes us more effective together than apart. Besides, these attackers are targeting humanity because of what happened between us. I share responsibility for whatever comes next. Dr. Martinez looked up from her research data. Actually, that makes scientific sense. Your linked quantum signatures might be the key to tracking down who's behind these attacks. Looked out at the ships carrying human protectors to worlds across the galaxy. 6 months ago, he had been just one man doing his job. Now he was part of something larger, a new chapter in galactic history, where humans served as bridges and protectors between species that had never trusted each other before. All right, he said finally. Let's go stop whoever thinks they can use fear to tear down what we've built. Princess took his hand, and he felt their quantum link strengthen with shared resolve. Together. Together agreed. As they prepared to leave for their next mission, reflected on how one moment of instinct throwing himself in front of a quantum weapon had transformed not just his own life, but the entire relationship between humanity and the galaxy. He had taken a deadly hit for an alien princess and woken up before the entire alien court. But more than that, he had proven that sometimes the strongest weapons in the universe were no match for a human who refused to give up on protecting others. The future was uncertain. There would be new threats, new challenges, and new opportunities to prove that humanity belonged among the stars, but was confident they could face whatever came next. After all, they were humans. They specialized in surviving the impossible. And now they weren't surviving alone. They had a galaxy full of species willing to stand with them, bound together by quantum entanglement and the simple human truth that some things were worth protecting, no matter the cost. Smiled as he watched another transport ship depart, carrying human guards to protect beings they had never met on worlds they had never seen. His sacrifice for Princess had become humanity's gift to the galaxy, the promise that no one would have to face the darkness alone as long as humans drew breath. It was, he decided, a pretty good way to repay the universe for letting him cheat death.